Yeah, I know. Yeah, Biden has he's actually come out and had his yay speech, we won, and Trump's not said anything yet. He's not conceded. Normally, they have like the yay we've won speech, and then the loser will come on and go, I'd like to congratulate my opponent. We did a heartfelt campaign and blah blah blah, and he's just gone, nah, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, I could tend to agree. Yeah,
I think he's chained himself to the White House right now.
He's
probably chained himself to the pillars.
He's just stubborn, and until it's like he has to get out, he won't get out, will he? But
I think we might have to smoke him out.
Yeah, possibly.
But he's still saying that they won the election. There's been stolen from them. That there's a load of fraud, or what have you. And I mean, the Trump supporters are really, really adamant that they've been robbed, and that Trump's the next, the Messiah. And I always think that there's always some electoral fraud. Mm-hmm. But do you think there's even remotely possible there's enough to actually change the outcourse of the election? Even remotely possible in a Western world?
I think so, but I don't think perhaps in the way like that Cambridge Analytica, that company that basically was involved in helping manipulate key demographics of voters for Brexit, and also for the previous 2016 election that got Trump elected, probably had a significant impact on the outcome of the last election.
That's manipulation, though, isn't it? That's not actual electoral fraud.
No.
Trump's talking about dead people voting and people aren't in the States and just fake votes, basically. He's not even talking about that.
I bet you there is some of that, and I bet you they've been doing it for many elections prior to this one, not just this one. It's just whether he can prove that they've done it or not.
But also, I would have said that it's just as likely it's Trump supporters. If there is fraud, I would have thought it would be individuals trying to vote more than once. There wouldn't be, because they reckon it's like in the last election, it was 0.00097 or something % of votes were considered fraudulent.
Really? That's pretty low.
Which is really, really low. I mean, it's still a significant, probably hundreds or even thousands of votes, but it's not going to affect an election. No. Even though the Bush versus who was the vice president that was the big environmentalist? His name's
Al Gore.
Al Gore. The Bush-Al Gore election was basically decided on California. I think it was California or Florida, I forget now. But there was actually only a difference of 500 votes involved. And that was basically the state that decided the election.
Mm-hmm.
And
very easy to swing the election then, just by swinging that state, wasn't it?
In that one situation, yeah. I mean, in that case, you could imagine that some fraud could maybe have made a difference if somebody's done the maths and realised that was going to happen. And, a lot of these pollsters, they do a lot of math, don't they? But I just don't believe that it'd be anything like enough. But they're talking about this thing in Pennsylvania, and he's actually put the court case in now in Pennsylvania. And the crux of it seems to be that Pennsylvania have allowed any votes that were posted on the day of the election to be counted, but they didn't necessarily arrive. You know what postal service is like? Didn't arrive for 3 days, so they've that's why they kept count until Friday. And Trump's saying, well, no, we should stop counting. I'm winning at the moment. Stop counting. And then the Pennsylvania are like, yeah, but all the postal votes are coming in and they all say Biden. Because you told people to vote on the day and Biden told them all to vote by post because of Corona. So you can't really surprise now that all the votes that are coming in late say Biden on them.
No.
So he was winning on the day and now he's lost.
Yeah.
Because of Corona, basically.
Yeah,
Corona, the gift that keeps on giving.
Indeed.
It might now actually cause a civil war in America. But Trump's words, though, man, I just can't believe how unpresidential it is. Even if he believes it, and he does give him his dues. I don't like Trump, but give him his dues. He says what he believes. You know what I mean? He genuinely says what he thinks. A lot of what he thinks is stupid, but he does say what he thinks. He's like. I love it when you watch him reading. He'll be reading a speech, and he'll have his notes, and he'll be reading his speech, and it'll be sensible point, sensible point, sensible point, and then he'll sort of look off into the distance and say something completely mental off the top of his head. Oh, it's beautiful, and all that sort of stuff he comes out with. And then he sort of there goes, and goes back to reading the thing he's been given. It's a sensible again. I love watching him talk.
Yes, it's very intriguing, isn't it? Yes.
But I know you're more of a Trump fan than I am. I can't stand Trump. You're not as anti him as I am. When we've talked before.
Yeah, I'm not completely anti him. I mean, Biden's now in. He'd be lucky if he's actually alive by the time we get round to the next election. So he's probably not going to get 2 terms.
I'd be shocked. He's not getting 2 terms.
So it's going to be another temporary employee for 4 years, and then we'll be on to the next one.
I'm hoping he's got a good team around him. He needs a good Secretary of State. He needs a good thing, because when that man hits nap time, there's no decisions going to be made. It's going to be like we're going at war. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning though. The president is very asleep, and you can't wake him because he's had his cocoa. And I mean, what's in any other job on the history of the world? When you reach your 70s, you are generally considered to be too old to do that job anymore.
Pretty much.
Your mental capacities, everything. You retire. Except presidents for some reason.
Yeah, we let people run. Do the most probably time consuming, resource exhausting job on the planet, where he's probably awake 18 hours a day, barely gets 6 hours a night sleep in his 70s. I just don't see it working very well. He's the kind of bloke he needs an afternoon nap.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
How's he going to run the country taking afternoon naps?
How many meds is he on? My main problem with him is the debates, right? He should have slam dunked Trump. I mean, say what you say about Trump. He's not a useless president. He has done some good things. The stuff he's done in the Middle East, it has been really good. He's made some really good deals and things. He's been good for business. I think the downside of that is he's been really bad for the environment, but he's been good for business and this sort of thing.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And he wasn't a completely useless president. He said ridiculous things and he behaved in ridiculous ways sometimes, and he was embarrassing, but he wasn't a useless president. But he has been caught lying often enough and just talking rubbish often enough, and everything on the COVID thing. Even if he was trying to do the best for business as a whole and not so worried about actual lives, he did. Biden should have slam dunked him. That's what he should have gone. Remember when you said this? And Trump went, "Oh, it was sarcasm." Because, well, the entire world didn't think it was sarcasm. Why were you riffing during an interview when 200 million Americans are watching you? Why are you talking injecting bleach? And the Trump supporters say, well, maybe he was talking about some future medical thing with nanotechnology where you could inject disinfectants and it could attack the virus and stuff. He goes, yes, but even if that is true, for one, I don't believe that's the way he was thinking at all. But he shouldn't just be thinking off the top of his head in front of a camera. He just shouldn't.
He doesn't have a filter, does he?
No.
What he thinks, he pretty much says. So from time to time, there's some things that he thinks that he really shouldn't say, but he says them anyway. Whether he's trying to be funny, maybe he was trying to make a joke with the thing with the bleach. Maybe that was, but it just wasn't that funny, and then was therefore misinterpreted as just being an idiot rather than perhaps trying to be quite funny. Maybe, I don't know. That was the impression I got from that comment. Maybe he was trying to make a joke, but it probably wasn't the time for a joke either. To be honest,
he said it was sarcasm. But he also wanted to put UV light and put it into the body somehow.
Yeah, again,
UV light into the body. It's good. Anyway.
Yeah, not that UV light's bad for your skin in large doses, but
the sort of doses that were required to kill organisms. That was something Trump supporters have said, that UV light is actually used as a treatment for lots of things, and it's true. But the force that you would need to actually kill a virus inside your body would have to actually be strong enough to degrade cells. So that's cooking.
Yes,
basically.
Yes. So no. But what I was going to say about Trump at the start was coronavirus was all about. It was a plan against him, wasn't it? Originally, it was all against him and against his, re-election campaign coming up later in 2020.
It was being exaggerated to.
Yeah.
I never think he never actually said it was fake. He just thought it was exaggerated.
Yes, he exaggerated, which I do believe there is some exaggeration by the Western media, because this isn't as big a problem for third world countries, I wouldn't imagine, as it is for first world countries. There's a lot of third world countries out there that've got a lot bigger problems than a viral infection that's got a 2%, maybe 4% fatality rate, although I believe that 4% fatality rate is probably exaggerated by the overcounting of the deaths. So if we said 2 to 3%, and just Ebola, 80% fatality rate. They've been suffering from that as an outbreak in the Congo for the last 4 to 6 years or so.
Every year for decades, I think it pops up every so often, but steadily gets more severe. But I think on and off.
I'm sure on their priority list, coronavirus probably doesn't even rank in the top 10.
Yeah, when you've actually got to walk 2 or 3 miles to get water.
Well,
at 1%, I don't even think it's 2 to 4%. The mortality rate overall is like less than 1%. But I think that's a bit skewed because young people just don't die from this thing. So really, I mean, if you're looking at over 50s, it's more like 10%, which is then starting to get a bit scary. So I mean, I quite like my nan. I don't really want her to have a 10% chance of dying. Or my mum, even, she's in her 60s.
Well, no, of course not. No, of course not. However, that is life to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be fair, if they both died, I'd get a third share of the house, which is.
This is why I'm a bit like, because the media's over exaggerating the risk, in my opinion, and the level that we're going to. I understand that they don't want to overrun the hospitals. I get that. I do get that. But eventually, if we're all going to get it anyway, we're all going to get it. We're just extending the time period over which we all contract it to help the hospitals out. So eventually, the same number of people are going to die from it anyway.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't just lock the elderly down. Why don't we just do a lockdown? Then basically, if you're vulnerable, so if you've got certain illnesses, or if you're on certain medications and all this sort of thing that might affect your immune system, stay at home and shield. Mm-hmm. If you're over 55, maybe stay at home and shield. And we will then pay for somebody to bring you your shopping. We'll do the bear. We'll give you all a laptop so that you're a tablet so that you can communicate with people, and we could have really put a lot of effort into making sure these people were protected, safe in their homes. The rest of us carry on with our daily work. We'll get herd immunity.
Let the virus flush through the younger generation or the younger population. Yep.
We'll protect the elderly as much as we possibly can. It still would have cost much, much less than what we've actually done.
Probably. Yeah, it would have done the economy down for 3 months.
We'd have shut
lockdown and
10 or 15% of the economy down instead of shutting it all down.
Yeah,
and I don't know why we didn't do that. I'll argue with people all day that I think the shutdown is a good thing. I think saving lives is a good thing, even if you're only saving. They reckon we might have saved 100,000 lives in the UK with a shutdown, one estimate. I mean, I think that's worth doing. But then you get into the argument about, well, why don't we have more traffic laws? And that would save as many lives. If we slowed everybody down by 10 miles an hour, that would save 10,000 lives a year. And because I like getting to work on time.
To be honest, the government, that really, when we've got a population globally of approaching 8 billion, and where resources are now actually less than, the supply is less than the demand in terms of food. Which has only switched over in recent years, where we always used to grow more.
Yeah, we passed the tipping point last year, didn't we, or the year before?
Yeah. So, there isn't really that much interest in the government actually saving that many lives. The politicians need to look like they want to save the population and the people's lives so they can get re-elected. But in real terms, actually, they don't mind if a few of the old people that are taking all of the healthcare and all of the pension money do die, because there's less stress on the economy, because there's less people taking money out the system and still, the same amount of younger people putting money in.
Hey, less pensioners is good for all of us. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I know it's harsh to say, but
it's a bit harsh, mate.
Italy's economy is probably going to have a nice surge in productivity following all of the deaths of their elderly population, with probably the worst outbreak in Europe, I would imagine. I wouldn't be surprised to see Italy's economy thriving in the next few years.
To go back to Trump quickly, though, really, one question I put on the on Facebook the other day was because of this rhetoric about Corona, and then about having the election stolen, was that if there was violence in America, which there's been a little bit, But as many Democrats, to be fair, there's loads of Democrats being gone out there and protesting, keep counting. And then on the other side of the road, there's a load of them saying, no, stop counting. We've won at the moment. Stop counting. And at the moment, there's going to be, there's the potential there for some violence. Everybody boarded their shops up. Everyone thought there was going to be violence. It doesn't look like there's been too much yet, and hopefully there won't be.
No,
but if there was, how much do you think Trump would be to blame for that? Could there be a possibility of maybe even having been prosecuted for inciting violence, or is that an extreme?
People still have their own free will. They still choose to go and commit the violence, even if you are, even if it is instigated by the words of another. So I don't really think you can blame somebody for for inciting violence, because you still have to commit the violent act yourself.
There's still that responsibility of the person at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I mean, because Trump's son has been talking about Trump should go to war over this. And over the election being stolen, because I would say that's a really poor use of words considering the situation.
Yeah, that is very poor use of words.
Anyway, Trump's got at least 2 criminal cases outstanding against him that haven't been able to be prosecuted because of him being president. So very shortly he won't be president. So I suspect the man's going to be spending a lot of money on legal fees in the next few years anyway. And I can expect every liberal
what 2 criminal cases are these that he's awaiting?
One in California, and it's about fraud, I believe. I'd have to double check the other one. I think there was an appeal of a sexual assault claim as well, but don't quote me because I'm not 100% certain. I'd have to double check. But I know there's at least 2 because I was listening to a bloke on the radio the other day and he was talking about it. But I don't even think that's a major problem. I think it's more the fact that every liberal group in America that feel he's done something in the last 4 years that they don't like will probably end up suing him. I think he's going to spend the end of his life basically in litigation. So,
quite possibly,
they'll try to sue him over every lie they think he ever told. We'll see how that goes on. It should be fun.
That should be a long, arduous battle.
Yeah, they'll make a reality TV show out of it probably, and I'll watch it. 'Cause it'll be great.
Yeah, actually, that wouldn't be bad. I probably would watch that.
Bloody hell. Anyway, we have a new president. We have a new president, and we're British. It really shouldn't affect us, but it does. So, but there is a new president, and he's an old, slightly creepy old man. So. Oh, that was the one argument I had with the Trump the other day. I was saying that Trump has been accused, and then we will go into the subject. Trump has been accused several times and had been caught several times over suspected sexual assault claims. One of them was he was very good friends with Epstein, and there is a lady has accused him of that while she knew Epstein, she was at a party at one of Trump's buildings, and that Trump raped her, and that she says she was 13 at the time, allegedly. Right? They went to court. Her solicitor, 3 days before the election, then came out and said, "We're dropping the case because the woman has dropped the case because of threats." She says she's been threatened. Right now, so this guy came out and said that Biden's a paedophile, and I went, "Well, no, come on. There's. I mean, to be fair, Trump has actually had to go to court over it. He was innocent, and he was found innocent, and I will underline that he's innocent. But he actually went to court." So, I mean, as evidence goes, that's got a bit more weight to it, innit? Yeah. I think that's fair to say. His evidence that Biden is a paedophile with some slightly creepy photos of him kissing children's heads. And that's it. And I'm like, be fair, all right? Trump was not the worst president ever. Maybe. But he did some really embarrassing, stupid things as president. Or some very unpresidential things. Biden is a slightly creepy old man. I'll give you that as well. And he shouldn't be president. Anybody. What I would have much preferred was they got Osama bin Laden, Barack Obama. They should have got Barack Obama, grew a beard, called him Phil, and put him up against him, and he'd have wiped the floor with him. Right? But they didn't. They gave it Biden. But when you're going to weigh up evidence, if you're going to call Biden a pedo, but then say Trump is the next salvation, come on. Look at the evidence. They're both innocent as far as I'm concerned. But if you're really going to start calling Biden one thing, then what are you going to call Trump based on the evidence that's against him? You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Leave it there. That's my rant for the day done. Right? Oh dear.